Hello everyone, my name is Pacha and welcome back to a new episode of Tiergarten Edelwald, where in this episode we are gonna build for me, or more precisely we are gonna build for the icon of my channel, the Jaguar. If you didn't know already, my channel icon is a melanistic Jaguar, and today marks the day I'm gonna finally build for these amazing creatures in the game. And when I say finally, that means because I actually never really have built for these animals in the game. I think the last time, the last time was when this animal came out back in 2020, I think it was, with the South America pack there in an old zoo of mine that doesn't really exist anymore as it is today. I have built for the first and only time for the Jaguars, and since then I never really touched this animal again. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why I never made that, because it is, as I said, my channel icon. It is my favorite feline species, Panthera species to be precise. So I don't know why I never really felt the need or the inspiration to make a habitat for them. But that changes today. As I said, today we are gonna build for the Jaguar here in Edelwald. Edelwald. And it's also a little bit of a preparation for the new animal pack that was just announced yesterday. If this video comes out on the day that I planned it to be coming out, yesterday on Tuesday, they announced the America's Animal Pack, and we will talk about that in just a bit, and I will give you, as I promised in my overview video, I will give you my opinion on it. I had this chance to think about a bit more and make an opinion what I think about this DLC, and as I said, we will talk about that in a moment. But yeah, let's talk first about what we are gonna do today and what the plan is for this habitat. As you see right now, we are building these very old stylish cages over here, which would have been, all of them would have been singular individual predator cages back in the day, in the olden days, each of them would have hold different species of predator, or most likely big cats, or bears, or dogs, or something like that. We are now taking these old cages and opening them up. We are connecting all of them first of all, and then we are opening them up to the habitat behind these cages. And this means we give the Jaguars, which are located in the habitat behind these cages, a little bit more room, a little bit more space to walk around, to also get close to the visitors from a safe distance, of course. And also we have this unique viewing opportunity for the guests, seeing these cats in these old cages, basically, while still maintaining relatively modern holding standard, basically, for the cats with the bigger habitat behind them. Originally in the real zoo of Schönbrunn, this habitat and these cages and everything around it is for, I think, the Siberian tiger, for the Siberian tigers, so really the biggest cat species that there is in the world, if I'm not mistaken. But I decided, since we are getting this new DLC, it would be fitting if we, with this cage over here, start a new South American area or Latin American area and close to it. As I said in a previous video, Schönbrunn's real zoo doesn't really have a dedicated South American area. It has a South American habitat, a big one, and it has also some smaller ones all over the zoo, but no real connected South American space, basically. So I will have to deviate a little bit in the future from that plan of Schönbrunn and make up my own stuff, but I already have some ideas in mind that we'll then see in the coming weeks. But yeah, this also means we are gonna further develop or build in the predator house that we started with the African wild dogs. And we will not finish this today. We will also not build the backstage for the African wild dogs today, but we will build our first indoor area, in this case for the Jaguars inside it. And then as we slowly fill out the rest of this predator habitat area, predator house area, basically with more habitats, or at least one more habitat, then we will also make further progress on the house itself. Though from what I now know and read, this house usually is closed for the visitors because the animals spend most of the time outside, and because they're mostly outside, then the house is closed during the day, and only with special tours basically get an inside view into this house. So my idea for this predator house in general, and you can already kind of see that with what I will build in this episode, is that it will be more for maintenance and more practical than showing. So it's similar to my zoo in I think it was Isle of Wild, it was called, where we had more practical exhibits that were more for research and housing the animals than for showing it off for visitors. So it will less be spectacular with cool art designs and lots of education and things like that, and dedicated viewing areas that are catered to the needs of the guests also, and more for we have these animals in here, and if you can go inside, this is how we hold them, but there's nothing much special about it basically. So this is, I think, the idea I want to go for, but we will see how that changes once we get to the other parts. Now we are now building, of course, some security measures here, some hot wiring on top of these walls, and that is because in the original zoo in Schönbrunn, this habitat is actually netted over. There's a big giant net over the whole exhibit, also the one right next to him, because of course these animals could climb out. Now I decided against it, as you can clearly see by me doing hot wiring, because nets in this game are a pain in the ass. I think I can put it that way. I know there are techniques to do with them. I know JAGUARS also made an amazing video on how to do netting, and it is doable with his ideas and techniques, though it would take a lot of time. It would take really, really a lot of time to do them, hours and hours. And I just decided, for the sake of this video's length, it is already long enough, I will not do netting. It would maybe look better, I don't know, we have to, you can judge us in the end, but I decided against netting just because of time efforts and of the work efforts that I would have put into it, and to make this video come out on the day you're watching it basically, or on the day I put it out basically. So I decided, instead of doing a netting, I look to a different zoo that houses jaguars. The Schönbrunn Zoo didn't house jaguars, not anymore at least, but I know a zoo that houses jaguars at the moment, which is the Zoo of Rostock, here in my state of Germany, my local zoo, so to say. And they have a wonderful jaguar exhibit, which has one of the, I think, craziest fences that I have seen just for an animal in a zoo. And I jokingly call them the raptor fences or T-Rex fences, because they are enormous. I would estimate them around 5 to 6 meters high, if that even is enough, maybe even higher, with a lot of hot wiring on the top, with different layers of hot wire over hot wire, basically. You will see that here in a moment when I recreate these fences. They are really secure, which you need for jaguars, because jaguars are notoriously known for being able to jump very high distances. Very high. They can jump very high. I think they can jump from standing, 4 meters. They can, while resting, they can jump 4 meters into the air. So there's definitely a danger situation here with these animals if they want to break out, if they are aggressive or anything like that. So we need to address that. And that's why they have these crazy fences that probably would hold a T-Rex in place if needed, or at least a raptor, with lots of hot wiring. And these are the ones I'm recreating today, because they are basically a nice substitute for the netting over. I mean, netting over would be more safer in the end, but since it would, as I said, would take a long time, we go with these fences, and I think still in the end it still works to a degree. I mean, look at these things. They have hot wire layer over hot wire layer, and there's just I hope no way for the jaguar to get out of here. But yeah, while I'm now building the fences and then also the indoor areas and things like that, let's talk about the new DLC that was announced on Tuesday, I think the 8th of June, 8th of April, my goodness. They announced the Americas Animal Pack, and thanks again to Frontier for providing me with some early information about this DLC, so I could make the overview video for you guys. But let's talk about it. What are my thoughts about it? What is my opinion? We're getting 7 new animals, and try to remember them from my head. We are getting, of course, the coyote, the greater rhea, the American flamingo, the bighorn sheep, the white-faced saki monkey, the ocelot, and the bush dog. And first of all, it sounds like a nice roster. We get some more South American representation. That is always nice. We have been lacking these animals for a long time in this game, especially white-faced saki. As I said, also in my overview video, it's the first South American monkey since the South America pack that also brought us the Jaguar. So over 5 years almost, or it's almost 5 years since we got. Since we got a South American monkey, so it really is time that we get a new one. And this the white-faced monkey is very distinctive enough from the capuchin monkey. It looks very cool. It's a very unique, or not unique, but common zoo animal. So I'm really happy about that. Bighorn sheep, a similar thing. This is just my personal opinion, but I love caprins. I love the horned ungulates, and so I'm really happy about the bighorn sheep. It was on my list, my personal wish list, for quite a while, so I'm really happy to get that. American flamingo, similar case. We already had the greater flamingo from the base game, but it was always the bit more or rare flamingo species, also not the most colorful. And the American flamingo, hopefully, I haven't seen it yet, will have this more deeper hues of red and pink and stuff like that, so will look much better. It's also a little bit smaller, I think, from the greater flamingo. I mean, it gives the name. This one is the greater flamingo, the other one is not greater, but yeah, you get what I mean. And then we have the what have I got? The ocelot. Have we got the ocelot? The rhea. Let's talk about the positive first, and then let's talk about the negatives. The ocelot, really nice. I already kind of expected to get an ocelot. They are very, very unique, or also cool South American cat species. Next to the Jaguar, of course, and we will actually house the ocelot here in Edelwald next to the Jaguars. So these two habitats here that we are now building with the mud walls are the two cages for the Jaguars, so that we can separate them if needed. And then behind that is another exhibit where we will house the ocelot, which I think in the real zoo of Schönbrunn houses leopards. I don't know which one, probably Amur leopard, which I've always thought is a bit small for such a big cat, because it's a much smaller exhibit, but I think it would be nicely sized for a small cat, just like the ocelot. So really happy about that. Then we get the bush dog, and I know a lot of people wished for this animal for quite a long time, and then why not? They are very unique, similar to the main wolf, which are their next closest relatives. The bush dog are super unique for a dog species because of their small size, their stubby little legs, and overall, they're very unique anatomy. And so I'm really happy that we get them, and that we get a new canine species, where we get a unique canine species. I think that's always nice. We don't get another wolf or a dingo or stuff like that, but just looks like another different dog. We get a unique one, which is kind of cool. Let's talk about what I'm not so happy about, or which I think could be changed. And these are the two animals that I didn't talk about yet. I hope didn't forget one, which are the rhea and the coyote. First of all, rhea as concept in of itself is amazing. It is our last missing red tide, so your big flightless birds. It's the last one that we needed. We already got the ostrich, the cassowaries, the emu, the kiwi, and I think that was all. I hope, that's all. I think I didn't forgot one, but we got all of them. So we now get the final one, and then we have our red tide list complete. So this is really cool, and I love that we get it. But what I don't love, and I talked about it already in the showcase video, is how they look at the moment. I looked up a bit more of Rhea pictures, and yeah, I definitely have to focus on Greater Rhea because the Lesser Rhea or Darwin's Rhea looks a bit different because they are smaller and more slender. But the Greater Rhea, which is a more probably known Rhea, in real life it looks similar to an ostrich, but it also has very non-ostrich like things, like the thinner beak, the smaller or small thinner head, stuff like that. They have 3 toes in contrast to the ostrich with only 2 toes, and Frontier did that. I checked the trailer again, they have 3 toes in the trailer, so I'm happy about that. But what I don't like is how similar they look to the ostrich. Now, it could be that this is the case, that they are really close to ostriches look-wise, and I just didn't find the right pictures. But if I don't find the right pictures, and I always see differences between ostrich in real life and in a Rhea, then there's something wrong, because in the game they look too similar for my taste. I don't know why. They just look like a recolored ostrich. I checked it again with also the in-game ostrich and the footage we have from the Rhea, from the trailer, and I noticed some slight differences, especially in the head shape. Only very slightly differences, and especially, of course, the color is different. But otherwise, I don't know if it's just me, if I'm just blind and I don't notice anything here, or they are just very closely modeled after the ostrich, and this could be changed. Should be changed probably, and make them more Rhea-like, basically. And the last one we are talking about is the coyote. I know this already sparked controversies and discussions when we first got a glimpse of the coyote. By the way, we're now building the indoor area within these half circle, which is this rotunda, I think it's the right word for it, for the Jaguars. Which is basically the show indoor area. We are not building the actual behind the scenes indoor area cages in this episode. But yeah, let's talk about the coyote, and let's talk about the animal that everyone expected to be in this DLC, which is the coati. Similar name, coyote, coati, different animal, definitely different animal, but we are getting the coyote is the flagship animal of this DLC. I mean, obvious is the dog. Dogs always say good for your non-zoo expert, zoo nerds, for regular people, like a dog species always sells. But the coyote, it is really rare in European zoos, and from what I've heard, it's also really rare in American zoos, the land of its origin. So it's not your common zoo animal, and I know many Americans see it as a pest more, because they go through the garbage and they attack dogs and things like that. They are more roadkill animal, as the Americans would call it, similar to the raccoon and the skunk and things like that. But they are, of course, also a very important animal for the Native American beliefs and Native American mythology and stuff like that. A lot of their gods are related to the coyote, so they have their place in American culture, basically, which of course is fine. They are a cool animal in of itself. They're cool dog species, rather more unique dog species. I would say they're a bit of a cross between a fox and a dog, or a fox and a wolf. So this is what I think, but my opinion on them is. But and I would be fine for the coyote if we would have gotten a coati in this pack. I already talked about it in my community and in my community and in the communities in general, that I think if we don't get a coati in this pack, we will probably never get a coati in the lifetime of this game that is left. I mean, it's not a secret. We are close to the end of this timeline. I know some people say, they always say it's the end of DLCs, but then we still get some. Yeah, I know that. We know that we still get DLCs because of Planet Coaster's 2 poor launch and things like that. So they need to make up for the money, and also because Planet Coaster doesn't have DLCs at the moment, so they need to make a little bit more money, and that's why it's simple. That's why we still get DLCs for Planet Zoo, because it's still selling very well. So I can see that we still get DLCs, but I'm aware and I'm very positive about that. This will not be a forever case, and at some point these DLCs will stop, and the time before it will stop is shorter than the time for when this game launched. So we are closer to an end than we have ever been in general. I don't know when they will stop with DLCs, but it will not be that far away. I want to put it that way. And this means I always think, yeah, if we don't get a Coati, I will probably butcher that a couple times now, but if we don't get a Coati in the Americas DLC, the literal DLC that is named after the continents this animals from, and which is the animal on the community wish list that most people wanted to see, which is an American animal. If we don't get it in the Americas DLC, when will we get it? I don't know. Do we get a fan favorites DLC at some point with the top 10 of the wish list that we thought the Zookeeper pack would be? Possible, but I don't hold my breath for it. So yeah, I think there's chances for Coati in Planet Zoo's once lifetime are yeah, really slim now, really small now, and I'm really sad about it, because the Coati is such an iconic zoo animal, such a common zoo animal. Even small zoos, even the small zoo outside of my flat, yet 5 minutes away here, this little animal park has Coatis, because they're such a common zoo animal. So common, in fact, that in Germany they can be a bit of an invasive species, even similar to the raccoon, because they break out so much, and so zoos have to have special measurements or special paperwork in order to hold Coatis. And in general, Coatis are super common zoo animal. Any zoo that has an American, South American area probably has Coatis. Also, Schönbrunn has Coatis mixed with the spectacled bear, which is a super cool mix. And I was kind of looking forward to doing this mix in game, because last pack, as you know, we got the spectacled bear. So I was kind of looking forward to do a habitat for these two, have the super cool unique mix with Coati spectacled bear, and do a video about it, do a build for it. And yeah, now I'm standing here and seeing, okay, I got a bush dog instead, and a coyote. Cool. What I do with them, I have to see. But yeah, if I would have changed anything about this pack, I would probably have swapped out the coyote for the Coati as a headliner. I know it's not that popular for the general zoo viewer as a dog species is, because hey, cats and dogs, kids always love that and people love that. But the Coati as a headliner for probably what is the main player base of Planet Zoo right now, which is the hardcore fans, us. We would have loved the Coati. We would have loved it as a headliner animal, to finally see Frontier gives us an animal we have been asking for so long. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy about the DLC in general. At this point in time, with that few DLCs left, how many that ever will be, I'm happy about any DLC with new animals, about any animals, because new animals give us new opportunities to build, new ways to build, new areas to theme around. Especially, for example, the American Flamingo. Now we can do a Flamingo area in an American area. We don't have to use the greater Flamingo for that. We can use the appropriate species. So I'm always happy about new species, how simple, how easy they may ever be for Frontier to make. And we know the Planet Zoo team isn't the biggest anymore right now. They're probably only a core group left, and they have to do all the work that previously a bigger team did. So I don't blame them for doing a little bit cheaper or a little bit easier work on the animal models and animal choices. But this is also the case. We would have the rig and the model for Coati in place. We have the raccoon, we have the red panda. They are closely related, all of them, closer at least to all other animals, and they have a similar way of locomotion. They are very much arboreal. We just would have to tweak the tail, for example, with the Coati, and if we use the raccoon model, and we would have a working Coati model. There are mods for this animal on Nexus right now that I think use the raccoon rig, so it is possible if you would put in the work. And I don't understand why we didn't got a Coati, especially if it's on spot number 1 for a long time. I think with the secretary bird on the community wishes, which we know they look on. I don't just get it. I don't know. I don't want to rant or sound here ungrateful for what Frontier does. I'm very happy about it. I wouldn't have expected for this game to go that long. Especially, I also wouldn't have expected to be part of the creators that work closely with Frontier and to get early access and things like that for information and things. So I'm very happy about that. I just don't understand some of the choices they made and why they made these choices, because for me there is no logic in them. I mean, yeah, there probably it was easier to make a coyote with an existing dog rig than it was to make a coati, where it maybe would have to tweak a few more things. But still, I would say there are possibilities if you really want it. I mean, we got 2 canines now, bush dog and the coyote, and the bush dog is a bit more unique, so they have the time and the energy to make unique rigs for these animals. Anyway, as I'm still happy. I was gonna say I'm still happy about this DLC. I'm still looking forward to this DLC and the stuff I want to do with it. It just could have been better. It could have been so much better if we would have gotten the American animal that everyone wants to. I know there's some other people who want different things, but let's be faced, most people here, or what I've read on the forums, on the Discord, and all the community posts, most people expected and wished for the Coati period here. And yeah, I think this should finish up the part of my rant, basically. The pieces, I don't know yet. I have only seen a few that we saw in the trailer. I haven't seen any of the other pieces yet. There could be useful stuff in there, like in Zookeepers there was very useful stuff. So, like the string pieces, for example. So I'm holding my breath until we see the pieces that are part of this pack. There doesn't seem to be a big update this time around. At least they didn't told us creators anything about an update. I checked twice all the information I had. There was no mention about an update or update features or things like that. So I don't think there will be a big update this time. I'm okay with that. As I said, we are close to an end with this game, so I don't expect anything huge anymore. But just so that you know, there's probably not a big update, or at least they haven't communicated that with us. I don't know what to make of that. You can make your own opinion on that, basically. But yeah, as Mario now doing all the foliage, and I try. Yeah, it is really hard to do foliage for the Jaguar here, because we of course can't have big trees in here, or at least we can't have big trees that are close to the barriers. That's why we also have this climbing structure, which is modeled after the one they have for the tigers in this in Schönbrunn. So it's a close match to the one from Schönbrunn in the same exhibit for the tigers. I know Jaguars are a bit more arboreal, so I added a few more pieces here and there, and we add some small trees that are far enough away from the barriers so the Jaguars could use them without the risk of breaking out. And then the rest of the bigger foliage comes from bamboo pieces. And correct me if I'm wrong, and just tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I hope Jaguars wouldn't be able to use the bamboo pieces to jump out. I hope they would be not sturdy enough for them to climb and use them as a way to escape. But let me know in the comments, and if so, then I have to change these things, but this can be done easily. So this is what I do now at the moment, using the bamboo to make this habitat appear a bit more lush, a bit more tropical than it actually is, because we're of course not in a tropical environment here. But yeah, what I want to say is that I will now leave you to the rest of this people of me doing all the foliage and smaller cleanup work for this exhibit, and that I then will see you in the end in the real-time part where we look at the finished exhibit and some stuffs I did in the last week's live stream. So I will see you at the end, and enjoy the music. Alright, and here we are in our real-time part for our finished Jaguar exhibit. And before we go there, we have to, I have to show some stuff that I did in last week's live stream on Friday, where we basically finished up this whole area a little bit more with the inclusion of these two old predator cages, or these old zoo cages, similar to the one I did on this side over there for bears, I think it was, and now we have one over here for a lion, where you also basically go inside and you can see how small it actually was back then and how little space these animals had. So to really get the perspective of these poor animals back then. And on the other side we have basically the same cage, just for I decided to go for orangutan, even with this little metal tree to symbolize. It had some stuff in there, but it wasn't really a pleasant experience. It wasn't really a pleasant life for them. So it's good that we moved on, but it's nice to have these memorabilia to kind of remind us where we came from and where we evolved into. But let's get back to our jaguars, and we first have this viewing area over here where we can get like a little bit sneak peek into the forested area of the exhibit. And we can even see, there's a jaguar, the black one in the background over there. And this also gives us access to the predator house, which is still unfinished. This entrance, this comes from the wild dog exhibit, and as you go inside here now, you have the indoor area for the jaguars on this side, where you can view them if they are indoors, which mostly would only be in like winter months, in autumn and stuff like that, when it's too cold outside. But otherwise they would spend all day outside, and this would then lead back to the behind the scenes cages basically, but there's nothing in here. I haven't built anything there, but this is the only indoor area that they have. And of course the rest of the house is still unfinished, but will be filled as soon as we have more species in here. But let's move on. Let's move on to the actual exhibit, the outside exhibit. And we of course first start with these old predator cages turned into kind of like a gallery walkway for the jaguars, for more space where they can rest and have some nice times if they want to. So we repurpose these old cages for the animals, to give them even more room to roam around. And I think it's a nice idea. It gives you a glimpse into history, but on the other side it also has a purpose, as it makes more space for the animals, so that they have more room to go around, and you can also get up really close to the animals if they decide to go in here. I added now these climbable beams in here. I think I don't talked about it in the video, so that they can even use these spaces which don't have an access or entrance to the outside. I know, and maybe we'll change that. It looks a bit nicer, but at the moment it serves the purpose just for them being able to cross this entire area and get through these doors basically, despite them having a big hitbox. Moving on, we get to the actual viewing areas. I also added some trees on last week's live stream, and then we get to the actual views with the raptor fences, as I call them, with these ridiculously safe fences. They look really crazy. I mean, in real life I think they're even higher than this here. I think I went with a bit of a shorter example of shorter recreation, but they're incredible. And then we have, of course, our main viewing area, or one of our main viewing areas, which I really like, with all the ivy growing down, giving a little bit of feeling of peeking through the foliage into the jungle of the habitat of these magnificent cats. And then of course we also have the pool area in front, the big pool area, for them to swim and have a nice time and cool a bit up during the summer times. And if we move alongside this path is a bit more forested, so there's a little bit more, there can be a little bit better height here. We get to the glass viewing area on this side, where we also can see the jaguar, one of them at least. I don't know where the other one is, maybe on the other side, in their secondary exhibit space. But I really like how lush this whole exhibit is, how full of foliage. It's not a tropical exhibit in any means. but with all the foliage, also bushes and trees and bamboo, it really feels like a bit of a forest, which kind of suits these animals that live in the Amazon rainforest. So we kind of try to recreate at least a little bit this feeling over here. But speaking of course, we have a secondary area over here, of course, with a little bit of cover on this side, where we can separate the two animals if we need to. This is a little bit more simple, as you saw, with only a climbing frame, some enrichment, and then of course some windows from the inside where you can peek into. But yeah, this is just a temporary area where we would have them if we need to separate them, and they would probably be on rotation, so both would switch between these exhibits on regular basis, so no animal have to stay as long as they need to, as needed to in this smaller exhibit over here. But yeah, this is already it for my favorite animal in the game, for me in Planet Zoo basically, and I'm really happy how everything turned out. You can change the lighting a little bit so it looks a bit nicer. Ooh, this is also nice with all the shadow. Yeah, this is nice, I think. So what I don't know where the second one is, maybe he's sleeping somewhere, or she is because it's a female. Maybe you spotted her. I don't, which of course is fitting for how they camouflage in the forest. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really do, and yeah, I hope I see you in the next one next week. And until then, I wish you a great time. Stay safe and bye bye, everyone.